Doug can build just about anything. Getting him to explain how he does it, that's the hard part. So while he built our new backyard deck, I asked questions on behalf of everyone who's never done this before.
Okay,
so what we're doing here is tearing apart this old deck. I took it apart kind of piece by piece because I thought I might be able to reuse some of the lumber, but it's just too far gone. It's so rotted. Nothing's really usable. So I'll salvage what I can, but most of it, probably 99% of it's going to the dump. So I'm tearing this all out. Then I'm going to use, I got a little excavator. I'll level the ground here because it's all kind of wonky. And put in some posts, start on the new deck. The new deck's going to be 10 by 20. Now it's just demolition. Hopefully I'll get this out of here today. Maybe do a dump run tomorrow. And then I'll start on the posts. And then frame it in. I was going to see if I could save some of the beams, but no, they're just done.
okay.
So rotted. I don't know how old
So
this deck is.
there was a
I'm
deck
assuming
here
it's probably
before,
around
and you were
30,
planning
40
to
years
fix
old.
it. What happened?
Well, I got looking at the deck. The main beam was rotted on it, so it was leaning on one side. Got under there and I started looking quite a bit, actually, by about. It was a very old deck, probably 30, 40 years old. And I went under there with a hammer, started hitting the boards, and it was so badly rotted that couldn't salvage really anything, any part of it. So I ended up tearing it all down, ripping it apart. I managed to salvage a few pieces, but I would say 99% of it went to the dump. It was just too rotten to really do anything with.
Yeah. Well, how do you decide the direction of the wood? What size to buy? Why is it an important step?
Well, it's all structural, so you, like when you're framing, you have to work out how deep, how big your deck's going to be, and there's regulations sort of that determine how thick how wide a board you're going to use for your framing, how wide your main beam's going to be. It varies with different sizes of decks.
This
This decking is just 1.25 by, or sorry, it's called 5.4 by 6 inch. The deck frame is 2 by 10 on 16 centers. By that I mean it's 2 by 10 ledger boards, then 2 by 10 framing all the way down.
So I see this line of joining the boards, skip one. Why
Yeah,
do we do it like this?
well, because I couldn't get 20-foot boards, decking boards, so I went with 12-foot boards and 8-foot boards. So every other row, one's 12 feet and then 8 feet. It's a 10 by 20 deck, so 12 and 8 equals 20. So I'll go 12 feet and then finish the rest with 8 feet. Then I'll start at that end and go 12 feet this way and then finish the rest with the 8 feet.
Oh.
That's why every other board is.
It just makes it stronger.
Yeah, if you don't want to have the seam all the way along on one board because it's not good. It weakens it.
Oh. What about I see like a second frame or like a border? It looks
that's
looks
just
pretty.
aesthetics. I put that in.
It's not needed. It's just.
No, I could have went straight to the end, but I just thought, kind of box it in a bit and make it look a little better.
Yeah.
It's all just personal preference.
How do you know how to square everything?
Well, first you gotta build your frame, it won't be squared. So you build the frame, and then you use the 3-4-5 rule. You measure out from the corner 3 feet, then you measure this way 3 feet, and then you should have 5 feet on a diagonal. So you can, so I measure, I'll go like this. You go measure from that corner out 3 feet, measure from that corner here 4 feet, and then you should have 5 feet that way. So you can adjust it. If you don't have the 5 feet, you can move it this way or that way to square it up. And then once you get at your 5 feet mark, so you measure 4 feet out, mark it, 3 feet out, mark it, and then you want to have 5 feet exactly. So you can move this one this way, that way. So when you reach 5 feet, you know you're square.
What
Pretty
about
simple.
that? It's very pretty
What's up?
too. So instead of putting the siding of the house, you put more wood.
Yeah, there's metal flashing underneath here, and this is older siding. So to hide that metal flashing, I didn't have this. It's hard to match up this siding, and this is where the old siding ended. So I just brought a piece of wood up all the way along just to hide the old metal flashing.
It's looking very, very cool, baby.
So yeah, it's all flashed underneath there too. So the water hits there, runs down. It doesn't just sit on the ledger board. The ledger board's covered with flashing. And yeah, these posts
What?
are all in, super sturdy. Can't
Yes.
move them. Once I put in the railings, that'll even sturdy it up even more. They're all the posts are boxed in,
Yeah.
so that's what makes them so strong. A lot of people will just use screws and screw in the post, but I box them in every post. You know, level it all up. Then I box it in because you don't want weak railings.
That will make it last longer.
Yeah, well then once I build the railings on there,
What tool makes this job easier? Your favorite tool in this job?
well, I think some of the obvious tools you're going to need is going to be a sliding compound saw, like chop saw.
Yeah.
I have a 10-inch sliding compound saw. Works excellent, actually.
That one with the table that I kind of saw you using?
No, that's just table saw.
Oh.
But your number one tool would be your chop saw, and then need a drill. Put in all your screws, a nail gun. Yeah, when you're building your frame, you use brackets, and you nail it instead of using screws because screws don't have the shear strength of nails.
What's your favorite tool for this job?
I don't know. My favorite tool would be, yeah, probably the chop saw.
Yeah?
Yeah, because you use it the most probably.
Cool. What happens if footings aren't done correctly?
Well, if your footings aren't done correctly, then you run the risk of having your deck move, like become uneven over the years. But you a lot of times if your deck becomes uneven, you can adjust it, you can shim it up, you can do things to straighten your deck out. But you really should take care when you're putting in your footings.
How deep are here in our area? Do they have to go deep? How did you do this?
4 feet is what they require.
Yeah.
I have a um, drill for the excavator. It's an 8-inch drill bit auger.
Oh.
That I can go down and.
Cool.
It's not on it right now. It's just got the bucket on it. But
you've used it pretty well, that excavator.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Here, the last place we had in St. John, I used it quite a bit there. Lots of friends use it.
Yeah.
You want lots of friends? Buy a little excavator. Yeah.
Um, so how do you make your frame stay level? Did you already tell me this?
I'm not
The
sure. What do you
rule?
mean? Oh, yeah. That's to square it up. To
Oh,
level it, you get your posts and you just level your posts and you set your beam on top.
with that
Those,
ruler that has the little bubble?
yes. I don't have one out here.
Yeah.
It's just called a level.
Oh, which measurement is the most critical when you're doing this?
Um, which measurement? They're all kind of fairly critical,
Yeah.
but when you're framing in your deck, you want to make sure your spacing is 16 on center. That's pretty important because then you buy your lumber at for this deck it was like 8 foot and 12 foot intervals, so you want that exact measurement. So yeah, your 16-inch centers is quite critical. There's a lot of critical things. I mean, when you're building your stair treads or your stairs,
You don't want stairs to be uneven.
or crooked. Yeah.
Nah. Yeah.
Mm.
Talking about framing, you were telling me yesterday that this
Mm.
one is hooked to the house, or what do you call it? Because the one in St. John was
The one in
detached.
St. John was a free floating deck. This one has a ledger board attached to the house. And yeah, so you just set your ledger board on there, level it out, and then you build out from the ledger board. I attached the ledger board to the house, to the framing in the house with the structural screws they have now. I used to, years ago, I would just use like lag bolts between each 16 center. So, but now they have these structural screws you use. I use two for each space, and yeah, it's very strong.
How much spacing should there be between boards?
Which boards? The decking boards?
Yes.
Well, some people use like a nail. They'll use a nail as a spacer. Not me. I put them in tight. The wood I buy is usually still wet, so I square it up, and then I start with my first board and my first row. I mean, then I'll start my second row and I'll put it up as tight as I can go. There'll be some variances just because of some of the wood gets a little bit warped, but there's ways you can make the board go tight. So I put all my decking boards tight, and then after a year or two, they shrink a bit. They get a little bit drier, and so you'll have that little tiny gap, maybe eighth of an inch gap, well, yeah, eighth to a quarter of an inch after. Well, the way I have these boards is there's more than enough room for the water to flow down, and after a little bit of time, that area will just get smaller. So you're going to end up with a bit of a gap between the boards eventually because they dry out.
What is the trick in getting straight lines?
But you measure out a certain distance on both sides to make sure you're straight. You use a string line from one end to the other.
What mistakes do you think beginners usually make?
Um, I don't know. I mean, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just beginners. We all sometimes you get distracted and you're doing something and you get involved with it, and then you realize, oh shit, I should have done this. Well, I think it happens to everybody. Yeah. So just because you build a few decks doesn't mean you don't make mistakes.
A few decks. How many decks have you built?
20 or 30 decks. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
From small to big to yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe more. I don't know. To buy a lot of old houses and renovate them.
Yeah.
And first thing you do on these old houses is either the front porch or the deck or something's falling apart. So you learn a little bit every time you build it. Every time you do something, You learn something new.
What's the worst deck you've ever repaired?
We had a neighbor in St. John. Remember Steve?
Yeah.
His deck was kind of unique in the front. It was a porch. I forget how big it was. Maybe 10 by, ooh, I don't know, 10 by 10. Maybe the porch was. But it was a little bit more. The porch had a roof on it, and that was all good. So we had to support the roof and build the deck underneath, and then put new pillars up. So that was a bit challenging in itself, but not overly challenging. But what was challenging, once we tore the old deck there, porch that was there was old concrete footings that from that house was a really old house too. It was like 150 years old, and these footings were there, but they were all crumbling, and they were no good to reuse. So we had to dig them out, and that's where that little excavator came in handy. We dug out the old footings, and then um, put in some sonotubes and built the new deck on the concrete sonotubes while we put plates on and stuff. But it was more work than anticipated, is what I'm getting at. It
Oh.
wasn't. We didn't realize how bad the footings were that we were planning on using what was there, building on top. But once we got the old deck out, it was a different story. It happens quite a bit actually when you tear apart a lot of old stuff and you see what's actually there. Then sometimes plans change, and that's what happened there. We had to tear the old deck out, then we had to change our plans. We weren't going to use the old footings anymore because they were all crumbling and garbage. So then we had to dig out the old footings with that excavator. And then once we got them all dug out, we had to fill it back in, and then we had to drill holes for the sonotubes. And so it was more work than anticipated.
What
That's all.
what is the most common problem? You say that that you've seen on decks, on old
A
decks?
lot of old decks that are still salvageable usually have to be leveled. They get over the years, especially here in Canada, with the frost and everything. If sometimes they'll sink on one end, but a lot of times you can fix that. You can level it out
Yeah.
and shim it up, sort of thing. Um, yeah, and rotten wood. A lot of times you can the old
Replace
decks.
one with another, or you think it's better just to start from scratch?
It depends. If the framing and all that is still good, solid, you can just put new decking boards on, no problem. Tear the old ones off.
Mhm.
Be careful taking the old ones off. Put new decking boards on, and
What do you
sometimes you're
think
good.
is a shortcut people should never take?
Proper materials, like don't. If you're building an outside deck, don't go cheap and use like wood that's not pressure treated, or use the proper materials you need for the environment you're building in. Because if you don't, then things go rotten, and you spend all that effort building something and it doesn't turn out. In a few years, it could rot out on you.
If someone only remembers one thing from this video, what should it be, you think?
Have a plan when you're building a deck. Make sure you know the size of the deck. Things change, but you want to know exactly how big of a deck you're going to have and how you're going to build it.
Mhm.
And that should be in your head before you start. So you can know how much materials you're going to need, and yeah,
Mm.
if you're starting out fresh, never built a deck before, you should do a bit of research. Yeah, I imagine YouTube's got lots to say
Your
about
video?
building decks.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
What is your favorite part of building a deck?
probably finishing it up, like doing the finer details. Today I'm putting the stairs in, and when you do the final, so when I put the railings up and all that, the finishing stuff, it gives you a bit of satisfaction. If you do a nice job, and it's all looks good, that's probably the most
Oh, because it's
pleasing.
rewarding to see it.
Rewarding, yeah.
Oh,
Keeping it level and square and making sure it's level and square as you're building, like all along, like as you're building, you're checking it all the time to make sure everything's square and level. It's it's structurally sound. That's a big thing.
not the wife trying to film and deviating your concentration.
Yeah, try not to get distracted. Butterfly goes by. It's easy if you're thinking about something and you're, especially if you're using a tape measure and you're taking measurements, and if you're not writing it down and someone asks you something, or all of a sudden you just, well, me anyway, I forget what I measured, so then I have to remeasure, or you have to keep your head focused on what you're doing, which is, I don't know, easy to say, but sometimes I get doing something else and I forget what I'm doing, and that's how you end up creating more work for yourself. You go back to, you start something and then you do something else and you go back to what you had started, and it's almost like starting over again. Sometimes you have to remeasure everything, and you just to be certain you're.
What do you say is your favorite tool? The hardest part, baby.
But when I couldn't live without, when building a deck, I would say your chop saw for sure.
Chop saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
The air nailer too is pretty handy.
You're saying you like all your toys.
Yeah. Table saw, you're gonna need a table saw probably when you're building a deck. Yeah.
What job around the house do you dislike the most, aside from the deck?
What do you mean, like?
Job around the house. You do a lot of things around the house, baby.
Probably cutting the grass.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these old houses we buy, the yards are pretty messed up. Like this is pretty messed up. So
Yeah. Look at that hedge, eh?
yeah. I mean, this is 10 times better than when we first bought the place. At least you can cut the grass now. But there's still things I have to fix up all that area.
Yeah.
But remember when we first bought it, there was trees and hedges all over.
Oh, I remember seeing John that you had to get rid of the forest before.
Yeah, it was so overgrown with trees and just everything else. Yeah.
Have you ever had a build that gone completely wrong?
Not really. I've had some regrets on some of the materials I've used. Sometimes you get flooring on sale or something, you think you get a good deal. Sometimes you are, but sometimes there's a reason it's on sale. It's go together well, or there's just lots of different.
Having to throw it away and buy again.
Yeah, I've done that, but it's too much of a headache, especially with like some of this clip flooring, laminate flooring, stuff like that. Some of the junky stuff is very. I'm not saying all of it, but a lot of it doesn't fit together well. It doesn't fit together well. Or sometimes you build something and you're not happy with it. It doesn't have the colors you chose, whatever it is.
Well, let's say tomorrow I try to build a deck myself. What would be your top 3 tips?
Know your dimensions, like you know how big of a deck you want. Make a plan. Work out what you're going to use to frame it in with, and the size of wood, and how much wood you're going to need. Make sure you have time to build it.
Yeah? Cool.
A lot of times, myself, I always, like when I build a deck, I think, oh yeah, a certain amount of time, but it always ends up taking longer than I think I deserve. Like a lot of times, I build a deck. But a lot of times
I'll make it prettier here, and I'll make it prettier there.
Little things take a lot of time. Take time. The actual building of the frame and the deck really take too long. You get a little bit fancier here and there, and I usually think I can do jobs a lot faster than what I can actually do. There's a lot of interruptions too. Like today, I was
Yeah, it looks like it might
gonna
not be
rain.
the best site.
So, you know, it was raining earlier. I put away all of my tools. And then as soon as I put the tools away, it stopped raining.
We're able to do this video. Thank you, baby,
Yes.
very much.
You're welcome.